in America, we live in this bubble, right? And we're so used to like pressing a button, things coming, just like on a fucking dime. And then when it's all disrupted, it's like, what the fuck is going on?
Right.
And it just shows how fragile all of this really is.
Right.
And as we get, farther and farther down the line, I mean, things have obviously, some things got better, some things not. And this is just all fucking chaos. It's still so scary because the uncertainty behind it and the different levels. Like your dad got it, and your dad's okay now?
He is, but I'll get into that. But like based off what you just said too, it's interesting, right? Because we're not as autonomous as we thought we were.
No,
which
not
I think is what is very interesting about this. An equal measure of like the accessibility to stuff and also the accessibility to people and community and having a sense of like a life and pursuing a career or a dream or a goal or like all these things it's fascinating what taking that away from a human being does to their psyche.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But my dad also didn't take it super seriously at the beginning, because I felt like I was very like, kind of like guys, like, and I knew that in Mexico, like things were not going to be taken as seriously perhaps. And they weren't at all because there were no cases or people didn't really weren't really aware or they thought it was a thing that like, oh no, it's not going to reach here. Cause it just spread like crazy. And, my dad, it's not that he didn't take it seriously, but he would upload like, oh, I went here or I went there, and then one day he had a fever and then the fever didn't go away, but it was a functional fever. Like he could still get up, he could still do stuff. And that lasted for like 3 or 4 days. And, then my brother and my sister, and because they're basically at home and they were kind of like, you need to stay inside. Like you have it, there's no way you don't have it. Like these are the symptoms. It literally just came out that like, this is what people feel. This is what people go through. And sure enough, like maybe after 5 days of having a fever, it got to the point where it was like, actually like he was in bed, he couldn't get up. And then he was quarantined in his room. And the way my house in Mexico was set up is like, basically, it was like a 1-floor house. I don't know if that's technically correct. One story. There you go. And then they built a separate room upstairs. Okay. So it worked out because he was just there. And going back to that whole like autonomous thing, it's like, when you're in that condition, you completely depend on people to help you. Yeah. Like my mom was making sure she was cooking right for him and like bringing those things up to him. And I have a cousin with muscular dystrophy, and because of that, my dad was able to have a ventilator and like, because he has 2. So they called my aunt and my aunt was like, yeah, you guys can, borrow one. And so he had an oxygen tube and like all that. And my mom went in there like, like she was in the Matrix with like gloves and this and that and like all the stuff to help him. So he was on that and, just taking the normal things that people tell you to take, which I think at the time was Tylenol. Yeah. Like the strongest Tylenol.
Yeah. Right. Cause if you took Advil or ibuprofen or something like that, it caused a different effect.
Yeah. It was kind of like, people were like, don't do aspirin. Now people are like, do aspirin. And do aspirin. It sounds so intense, right?
You have to do some aspirin. Snort a line of aspirin.
Yeah.